Hello everyone, welcome back. Moving right along from our previous video with Emerald, we're going to Ruby. And we're starting Ruby off with a Taffyta, oh my gosh, Muttonfudge, oh boy. 2 costs, 2 lore, quest for 2. There's a shift line with this, it's fine. This is an okay card, 2.5. It's going to be in the range of playable, you know, an aggressive character. Not quite as good as Flynn, I don't believe, but hey, it's 2 costs, 2 lore, it's not that bad. It's kind of been the standard since set 1. Next up here we have Wreck-It Ralph himself, the Demolition Dude. Whenever you ready this character, gain 1 lord for each damage on him. Could be really good in certain situations, obviously gaining up to 3 lords by starting your turn. You then kind of look to other ways to ready him, whether it be LeFou, Shield, the Sven we looked at in Amber. Those all could work. This has to be damaged in that instance. And that could lead to some interesting situations. I'm giving this one a 3 for potential. Right now there's no shift line with Ralph, which is kind of unfortunate, but I expect at some point we'll see them. Maybe making other Ralphs more playable along the way. Yeah, this could be pretty good, but we saw kind of in set 2 with Christopher Robin having a similar effect where you gain 2 lore if you readied him and had 2 other characters. Never saw play because it was so expensive, but this one's much more likely, I think. Not going to replace Sisu anytime soon, but who knows. Maximus, team champion, I believe. So 3/5 for 6 with 2 lore. At the end of your turn, if you have a character with 5 strength, you gain 2 lore. If you have a character with 10 strength, you gain 6 lore. So this encourages a lot of support mechanics. One of the decks and kind of things I've been trying over the course of the past, since set 4 came out, when I was ignoring Bucky's existence for a while, which I get to now, was playing some Ruby Sapphire decks that are more aggressively slanted, using cards like Li Shang, which cares if your characters are 4 strength or more, with cards like Lumiere buffing your strength, and Alice, the set 2 legendary Alice, the 1/4 that gives everything support. That's one real easy way to make this card 10 lore. You get to use all your characters to support and cap it all off by supporting the Alice, which then quests for 5 by itself because it'll be 10 strength if you have enough things in play. And then also having this be your curve topper, then you gain 5 more lore. So there's certainly situations where you can play this character and then just gain 10 lore that turn, where your opponent might not be able to, or might not be expecting it. So solid. I think it's a cool build around. I'm giving it a 3.5 for that purpose of building around. I don't think it'll see too much play, so probably a 3, but it is a cool build around, and I like that it exists, and it is pretty threatening at times. I mean, even just having a deck of cards, meaning the 5 cost 5/5 that quests for 2, and then following it up with this, that's 4 lore, because that essentially gains 2 lore right away. Lore gain is never something to be underestimated, especially when it's inkable, and yeah, solid card. Turbo, Royal Hack, let's see, Rush, 2/3 for 2, counts as being King Candy for shift. I don't think this stat line warrants the uninkability in Rush. It is cool that it exists. I'm going to move on and pass this one. It's a fine card, maybe hyper niche situations, probably for limited mostly, but not something I'm going to be excited to try or play in this format. Welcome to cards that don't make sense to me for 500, Alex. Here we are, Donald Duck Pie Slinger. Stat line's fine, 3/6 shift for 4, sure. I don't think there's a 1 cost on. I think there's a couple 2 cost ones. When you play this character, if you use shift, each opponent loses 2 lore. I really wish it was just if you just played him. And if an opponent has 10 or more lore, this gets +6 strength. Okay, so those 2 things conflict with each other and don't make sense on the same card to me. I like both those abilities. They're cool. I don't like the shift aspect of the lose 2 lore. I wish there was actually something that did combat lore a little bit. But I understand the shift aspect, so it can't be repeatedly used and bounced with the mims as much, so you have to play Donald Duck to make it work. But who knows? You can then pick up both things with mims, so who knows? But it's really such an awkward card. I don't like, this is an appealing line of text, but it also doesn't really play well with the top line. They conflict with each other, and when you're, I don't know. This card is weird to me. I don't buy it. I'm giving it a 2 stars. I don't think it'd be very good. I like that it can kill big things, like 9 health worth of things, but it's not my cup of tea. I'm moving on. Unfortunate, but my favorite ice cream flavor is vanilla. 1 star. Scar. Scar is so from set 1, my biggest irk from it was the 1 cost item that was the depiction of Scar throwing Mufasa over the ledge. And the flavor text for that card was not "Long Live the King," because that's my favorite line in all of Villainy and most of Disney. But this is "Long Live the King." I don't know the language this is in. I think this is German. But 5 costs, 6/3, 2 lore. When you play this character, banish a Mufasa. Love it. This card is super cool. It's getting a 2 for power level, but if I could give this up flavor-wise, this is getting a 5. This is perfect. This card might see play. Depends on how popular Mufasa is. Killing the Amber Mufasa is one thing, but killing the Sapphire one, which we'll get to, may be of importance. And having a recurable way to do that could be really important for Ruby Amethyst. But this thing certainly is a cool card to exist, and I like it a lot. All right, Snowanna, Rainbow. Okay, Rush. Nope. This one's like King Candy, not that great. 2 costs, 2/2 evasive. All right, interesting. Yeah, this will get a 2. It's not super aggressive, super threatening. It's kind of like a Pegasus, like the 3/1 from last set. Very similar in that sense. Doesn't die to a Tinkerbell, but doesn't kill a Minnie Mouse Surfer or anything like that. Doesn't challenge location as well. It's okay. Yeah, it's just a fine card. It's not exciting. Checks Diablo, whatever, all that stuff. All right, Mickey Mouse Dreamborn Enthusiastic Enchanter. I don't know why I said something like that. Perfect partners. Well, you play this character. If you have a Minnie Mouse in play, this character gets 2 strength. So it's a 4/4 for 4 with 2 lore. Pretty basic and vanilla. 1.5 because it has 2 lore versus the thing we just saw, which was the 4/4. Ratigan, 2 strength when damaged. It's even not great. Even if it was a 3/5 for 3, it'd be fine stat-wise, obviously, but we've seen 3/4 for 3 and not been impressed, so it is roughly a 3/4 for 3 because it has to be damaged. 1 star, moving on. Shift line, sure, but I don't think the shift card's very good either. Taffyta Muttonfudge, Taffyta, whatever her name is. When you play this character, if you're at location, each opponent loses a lore. This one's more likely to see play than I think some of the other ones. It is a 1/2, not a 2/2, so that makes it a little bit worse, of course. The vanilla 2/2 for 1 is kind of the baseline. I'm giving this one a 2.5. It could be good enough if the locations that you can play this with make enough sense. I think that the shift line for this was, I'm trying to remember if I've seen it yet. I've seen it, but I don't remember what it does exactly. But I think it's fine. Being able to bounce this is kind of cool. If you have snakes and stuff, you can play this, bounce it, play it again. If you have a castle in play or other Amethyst locations, as a way to control the board. Maybe making the Coda that we saw to start off the Amber review more playable. This is maybe a card that they were worried about taking over too much, controlling lore. But could be cool. Solid card, and I think there's a shifter for it too, which is nice. Denahi, I'm bad with names. I don't remember. I haven't seen this movie in 20 years. Vanilla 7/5. We saw a 6 cost 7/5 vanilla with 2 lore. See a tiny bit of play in some Mufasa decks. Uninkable though, I'm not really seeing it. It is a big beefy thing, maybe 2. 2 for beef. Where's the beef? We found it. All right, so Pete, Steamboat Rival. I gotta make sure I understand the complete wording of this card. At least one other Pete character in play. Okay. Steamboat Rival. So 7 cost 6/6. When you play this character, if you have another Pete in play, you get to banish a character. It's close. It's really close to being good enough. It's like a 3 because I think there's some Petes which are pretty good, but it's not quite good enough because it costs so much, and it requires that to be in play too. It specifically because it doesn't require a second copy of itself, and it could be any Pete, meaning like the Pete from set 2 that has Ward, the 3/4 for 5, things like that. This could be played. Glad that it's uninkable. It's a solid role player in situations where you're going to be late in the game, and it's just a versatile answer. So it's fine. Here we go. There's the shifter. Okay, yeah, this one. This one's actually pretty good. So shift 2 goes on top of the one that cared about having a location. Whenever this moves to a location once per turn, you gain 2 lore. This one's pretty good. Yeah, this one's getting a 3 at least. It's shift 2, so it goes from 1 to 4. Again, seeing cards like Be King Undisputed or Long Game Zeus. I can't think of the other one. How Far I'll Go. Stuff like that in those types of decks. And the ability to gain lore just when you play it initially. You can play this character and then immediately move it for 1 to gain 2 lore. It's pretty strong. I mean, that's not anything to scoff at. Just the immediate way to gain lore, which I think there's a location that moves something for 0 in this set. So, yeah, solid card. I don't not expect to see this card see play. All right. Where are we at here? All right. Uninkable 1/4. So this is Sisu from set 2, but it's like worse, right? The Sisu from set 2 is a dragon, is an uninkable 4, costs 2/4 with 2 lore that whenever requested, you get to look at the top 2 cards, put 1 to your hand, the other one to the bottom. This one, whenever it quests, you look at the top 4 cards. Okay, it's more than 2. You may reveal an action. Well, it has to be an action in there, and then play it for free. And then the rest of your discard. So there's a couple of takeaways with this. It doesn't always hit, which is not good. It has to be specifically hitting an action, which costs 6 or less. Playing it for free is a huge upside, bigger than the Sisu. But then the rest of the discard, the other cards going to the discard, makes me think about build-arounds. Makes me think about the Kristoff, which cares about a bunch of songs going to the discard. So playing this card with Kristoff and a bunch of songs in Amber Ruby maybe is a thing. Playing some things for free is cool, with Naveen as well, but how many things are you playing this and Naveen with? That's a lot of uninkables with Kristoff as well. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and I feel like it's just missing on every bit of them by a little bit to see play. I really wish it was inkable. I don't know. This one's getting a 1.5. It's not my cup of tea. It's not there. I feel like there's too much needs to go right. Yeah, I'm sad because it's a cool card, but I don't think it's quite there. All right, Gaston, pure paragon. For each damage character in play, you have in play. This costs 2 less. So let's just imagine the best case scenario. You play Mulan, you play Gothel. Okay, so this costs 5 then. That's not that bad, honestly. This costing 5 isn't that unlikely. If you play anything, I mean, in the instances we're talking about in that situation, that's like pre-setup. That's just paying this thing for full cost, not having any kind of combat happen. Mulan into Gothel, that's great. This costs 5. You can, at later points in the game, play every Mulan you play reduces cost by 1 functionally for the turn, because it's 1 to play the Mulan, and that reduces 2 for this character. So there's a situation where you have 2 damage characters, you can then go, Gothel, Mulan, play this for 1. That's not bad. I think this card's solid. Uninkable, sure. Huge, kills everything. I mean, people were playing the freaking Hercules, the 7/6 or the 7/3 that had rush and was uninkable. In the previous set, that had 1 lore, I think, to help challenge some locations. But this thing is just massive. I think this will see play. I do. I think it's really close to being good. And I mean, you could even go in some situations. Let's just say a situation where you play Mulan into Gothel, and then you can do something where you play or sing Teeth and Ambitions, and then that makes this thing cost 3. You have to play a 1 cost and then teeth it, say like a Minnie Mouse, and then teeth it and play something else, and that's eventually you have 3 ink that turn, you have 2 left over. All right, we're still short by 1, but still, we're close. It's, I think, a very reasonable card to play. I would find a hard time fitting it into all the decks I'd want to build it in, but you could certainly build around it, and it could be cool. All right, vanilla. Again, my favorite flavor of ice cream. Moving on. Cool that this exists. Strange that it's it works with Maximus too. Yeah, Pete works with Maximus too. 10 strength, huge. 1 cost Reckless, 2/3. We've seen 1 cost 3/1 Reckless. This one's fine. I do think that this bird died at some point in the movie. I don't remember. It's fine. I don't see us playing it too much of it. Maybe in some situations where you want a bunch of strength and play, a bunch of cheap characters, it could be. But I don't know. Moving on to here. 3 cost 2/4. Whenever it challenges a character, each opponent loses a lore. 1.5. It's not anything to look at, anything to go over. Not exciting character. Party Crasher. Well, the crashed party is crashed, or whatever indeed. So the thing you can shift on top of this that's reasonable is the wall. 3 cost 1/5. 1/5 is not that hard, or not that easy to kill early on. Giving your damage characters a buff is nice. It being a shift 4 evasive curves off that after that turn 3 is fine. It letting you go from 3 and then shift on 4, saying be prepared is a thing maybe if you need to against hyper aggressive decks. Evasive is nice. It's a fine card. It's getting a 2.5. It's not, I think, as good as say the Anna is. That's the 7 cost shift 4 for Amethyst, but it's okay. It could see play. I don't think I'll try too much of it, but we'll see. Vanellope Von Schweetz, rush evasive when you play this character this turn. So 4 cost 3/3, uninkable, 2 lore, very similar to Pan Shadow, but it's not ideal to play, right? It's an okay card to catch up. It kills Diablo, it's great. It being 2 lore is nice, but it doesn't defend itself then. I'll give it a 3 because I think it will see some play. because Pan Shadow and the other Pan, the 2/3 for 3 one that was in the recent set, saw some play. Having the second point of lore is good, and maybe the character types of princess matters. I'm gonna give 2.5. It's not, the unequal part's a little bit tough, but it's not thrilling. Simba, this is Abusive Sergeant from Hearthstone. Unequal is gonna shoot this one in the face. Moving on. It's a Mother Gothel from set 1 that, not Mother Gothel, Megara from set 1 that just was bad anyway. All right. Whenever this character or one of your other characters named Mickey Mouse challenges another character, you gain 1 lore. We've seen this so many different ways, and it's never played out well, and this is not even a good stat line for it. Moving on. Like Shere Khan is like the same thing, but different. Break Free. All right. 1 damage to a character of yours, and they gain Rush. That's fine. It's a very niche card. Self-damaging might be a thing eventually. Right now, there's no significant self-damaging thing. Like, if damage, do this. 1.5. We'll see. Cogsworth and Amethyst gave us the ability to give Rush while keeping a body in play. Yeah. This thing is a Fan the Flames, meaning untap a chosen character. Can't quest for the rest of the turn, but if it's a villain, you gain 1 lore. Could see play. There's enough maybe untap stuff to maybe make Ralph good. Ralph isn't a villain, but yeah, I mean, it's in the realm of playable, but not likely to be great. Can move right along here. Ready all of your characters, they can't quest, so Fan the Flames for everything. Nope, not touching this one. There's nothing in this. There's no way this is ever going to be. This just doesn't do anything. It's just. I hope you don't open it in your sealed pools. All right, Glimmer versus Glimmer. Okay. Banish chosen character yours to banish chosen character. There's not really much of a benefit right now to killing your own characters off. There's no significant kind of win dies effect. That's always great. Obviously, drawing a card's fine, stuff like that. But I think you'd rather just play Dragonfire if you ever played this. 1 star. Or be King Undisputed or anything like that. Who is with me? So I was interested by this card. So whenever you're one of your reckless characters challenge another character, gain 2 lore. Sure. I'm more excited by the fact that this just buffs all your characters for the turn to combo with Li Shang from the previous set, the Floodborn. That means all your characters with +2 strength, or with 4 more strength, get +1 lore. So I'd really look at this as a way to just trigger that card. I've tried cards like Cricky to make that happen, but I didn't want to play those 2 color pairs together in that sense. But this card could be good. It helping essentially take out locations is probably pretty good too. I'm giving this one 2.5. It's not ideal, but there's a lot of potential with something like this. And if there's more reckless characters in your deck than you would otherwise realize, obviously just Maui, but is the big one that gets played. This one could be played, and it's really weird that it's a super rare, but yeah, I'm interested with it, and I think that there's a potential for it to be okay if strength matters that much. I gotta read this card. Okay, so chosen character gets +3 this turn. If it's a villain, gets +4. Why is this art the way it is? Moving on. All right, the sword released. At the start of your turn, if you have a character with more strength than each opposing character, each opponent loses 1 lore and you gain 1 equal to the lore loss. So the reason Flynn is good is because it was a threat by itself, more so than the effect. It was just a character itself, so it could turn itself on in that way. This one, however, doesn't do that. I mean, it's a really good card in multiplayer, but I'm not interested in it. It's not the way to go about it. Ruby Chromonicon, really good and limited. No place to construct it, I don't believe. The Vitalosphere, which gives Rush and +2, is probably better, even though it's a one-time effect. So moving on with this one, that's a 1. All right, Speedway, Sugar Rush. So it's a 1-cost uninkable, 0 to move here, 5 willpower. Once per turn, you may exert chosen character heal, deal 1 damage to them, and then move to a location for free. I don't know if you have to move them there to use that ability, because this is a way to turn on Gaston by just dealing 1 to your own things at will. I don't know if you have to have another location. Obviously, you can have a second copy of this, but they are uninkable. This is also a way to turn on the Legendary Genie. Being able to exert it immediately after playing it is kind of cool, since it doesn't require you to quest or sing with them, they could just be exerted here by this effect. So it's interesting. I think this is a cool build around. I'm giving it a 3 for that strict build around potential, but in the right deck it could be great, but otherwise it's not playable at all. So it's a 3 or a 1. I don't know which, but yeah, it could be solid. And Ratigan's Party CD Backroom. Okay. 2 cost 1/7. All right. While you have a damage character here, it gets +2 lore. So it doesn't do anything at all by itself at all, period. That's just not great. I don't know. We saw Ariel's Grotto and it do nothing, and that's it. Again, it's unfortunate that we're leaving some of these colors in the on like the ending note being very, very poor cards, but we are. But we're going to be back here in just a moment here for the rest of the cards in Sapphire, and then Steel I think we have after that. So tune in, don't go anywhere. See you guys in the next video.